Welcome, welcome. It is What Is She Thinking? And I am Melanie Marshall, and joining me is the amazing Dr. Heather Collins, our neuroscientist with the mostest. I've got to find an N word that works with that. I can't think of one. What is that? What's happening in my brain?
Nifty neuroscientist?
You are nifty. That is true.
We'll take that for now.
You're nifty. The niftiest neuroscientist that I know for sure. So look, we're going to do something a little different today. I am handing over the reins, not that I'm controlling or anything. I am handing over the reins, and Dr. Heather, you are in charge. You also like a little bit of control.
I've been waiting for this.
So we're going to do something, and what I'd love for you to do is tell us what we're doing and why we're doing it, and like what we're hoping it might offer to our audience, aside from a bit of fun.
Friends, we have a special treat today. This is something I've been wanting to do ever since the marvelous Melanie Marshall and I have become friends. Melanie has these amazing, rich stories. She's traveled basically everywhere in the world, and she has just the most rich, beautiful, wonderful, interesting stories. And I'm constantly fascinated by them. And I often wonder, what is she thinking when she's telling these stories? So today we have an episode full of stories, and it's combined with my favorite brain topic, memory. Today we have Melanie's HippoCampus facts. So
my
we're going
hippocampus!
to crack open her skull and see how her memory system works. And so the game is this. I have 2 jars here with papers in them. And one set of papers has a location in it that I will randomly draw that Melanie has been to. And another one has thoughts, feelings, or emotions that she may have experienced during those particular trips. So I'm going to draw one from each jar. And Melanie's goal is to simply match up the location with the emotion or feeling or thought. And this can be kind of challenging. Her hippocampus is going to have to work pretty hard, but I think she can do it. And just in case a particular emotion or thought doesn't match up with a certain location, I've given her 3 passes. 3. So Melanie, you have 3 passes. And my job for today is to make sure I don't accidentally drink out of one of these jars, because I live in Charleston, South Carolina, and in the South, we have ball and mason jars, and we drink iced tea out of those. And
You're a Southern gal. I got my Stanley cup up here, my Canadian insulated cup for the snowy weather.
Perfect. So, Melanie, do you have any questions?
Is it too late to run away?
It is too late to run away. Yes. Okay. You might be in Toronto, my friend, but I will find you.
It's true. I trust you and your brain power to find me. So I don't know. We ran through the list of places, and of course my focus was like, oh yeah, but I haven't been to these ones. So I don't know what she's put in there. And
we have not rehearsed this. We have not practiced this.
No, I was told.
And yesterday was a big day for Melanie, a lot going on, which as a scientist, I was happy about. That means it provided a lot of interference, so she wouldn't think too much about these stories. So she's coming to us with her hippocampus refreshed.
Where's my hippocampus? Just before we get into it, where is it? Where is it in my
It's deep in the center of your brain. So if you take your finger and you put it in your ear, and let's say you could just poke in an extra 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches, you'd hit your hippocampus.
I'd hit my hippocampus. Okay.
You would.
And this is your favorite part of the brain, and it is our memory.
It's your memory center. Yeah. So your hippocampus is responsible for taking information from the outside world, bringing it into your brain, making memories of it, and connecting and talking with other parts of your brain to really make those into solid memories you can remember longer than just a minute or 2.
Okay, so this is going to be, let's just see what happens. And hopefully you will all get something for your own hippocampi. Campuses? Campi?
Let's do campuses.
Mm-hmm. It's like the octopus-octopi debate,
right?
Yeah,
yeah. It's like octopuses versus octopi.
Yeah. Well, my which is a whole other topic. But the good thing is I'm also a little sleep deprived, so extra ADD today. Dr. Heather, you're in charge. Please just
let's go. All right. The first location is
really nervous.
Morocco.
Ooh, okay.
And the feeling or thought or emotional experience is hopeful. Can you tell us a story about being hopeful in Morocco?
So, when I was in Morocco, so Morocco is on the, so if you don't know, Morocco sits just below Spain. It's in northern Africa. It's also then on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean. So it's like crazy beautiful. A lot of people go to Marrakesh and, wear their little flowy outfits. And I did that. But the other thing that's incredible is that you can go into the Sahara Desert. And I went on a trek into the Sahara Desert where this wasn't work. This ended up being just for fun, where I had a couple of days and I thought, okay, I'm going to make the most of it. I'm going to make the most of this time. And it was just a couple of days and nights, and we rode camels into the desert. And my camel's name was Jimi Hendrix. I remember that very clearly. So when I'm done, you can tell me why I remember that so clearly. And instead of sleeping in the tent, it was a full moon. And so I said, can we sleep outside? And he said, yeah. And then I discovered it's cold in the desert, which I kind of knew, but wow, was it cold. And so I was under like 10 blankets. I actually have a picture of myself in my Little Miss Natural Disaster hoodie, because that was one of my nicknames at the BBC, because I did so many of the natural disasters. And it was so cold. I woke up in the night and there was a full moon over the sand dunes. And I just had this feeling of oh, the world is wide. And I was at a point in my life where I was going through a lot of change. I had left behind one part of my life and I was out into the unknown. I was seeing if the whole being based in Europe thing was going to work for me. And I was like, yeah, it is. And then I asked our guide, I was like, can I go out in the desert? And he said, do you want to run on a camel? Do you want to see a camel run? Do you want to be? And I was like, yeah, I do. And so I got on Jimi Hendrix and he got on his, which was named after another rock star. And I do not remember it. It was another old rock star. They were all named after that. I do not know what the camels called themselves. Anyway, and we ran, our camels cantered and galloped under a full moon in the Sahara. And I just had this feeling that I had gone from leaving behind my whole life in New York, and it felt like the end. And suddenly I was galloping on a camel named Jimi Hendrix, and maybe there was a whole new life waiting for me.
I love that. That is an amazing story. I want to drop in an interesting comment about your camel, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
I hypothesized that you remembered that because that was not what you expected your camel to be named. And in fact, there's this phenomenon called the bizarreness effect, whereby we remember things that are bizarre or unusual or different or stand out more than we do things that don't. And it's like the Sesame Street song, one of these things is not like the others.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we remember those things that are not like the others.
That's incredible. I love that. And, it's interesting. That fits in. When I make films, I always focus on detail. And when I'm teaching people how to make a film or how to tell a story, I always say, remember, it's in the detail. And I don't know the bizarreness effect, but it's people remember that one little thing you did rather than the thing I hate the most in the world, a mid shot. So that is so interesting. Yeah. I don't know. And also he was a great camel.
I mean, how could he not be? He was named Jimi Hendrix. This is pretty amazing. I love that story so much. Okay. That's awesome. Are you ready for?
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm into it. I was worried I wouldn't be able to remember anything, and of course I'm still like, well, everybody's ridden a camel in the desert. That's still what my brain is saying. Part of my brain.
Fun fact: not everybody has ridden a camel in the desert, including yours truly.
You should. Okay.
Oh, number 2. The location is USA Road Trip.
Oh.
And let's see what kind of experience we had.
Oh, no.
Wistful. Is there a time on your grand USA road trip from Mexico through the US up to Canada in which you can recall feeling wistful?
Ooh. Are we defining wistful as kind of like melancholy longing, or is it happy?
I think you could go either way with it. I think I was thinking a little more of the happy end of it.
So I think I felt wistful when I fell into the town of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, who should be doing a brand partnership with me because I love this town so much and I tell everyone to go there. I ended up there accidentally because a speaking engagement I was meant to do fell through. And I was in the middle of a road trip with my dog across North America. So I didn't have a lot of choices. Except I did. I had lots. I still had agency. And so I had made the decision based on the fact they had a haunted hotel and I was doing a road trip called The Great Beyond. I thought, I'll go to this place called Eureka Springs. It's sort of on my way. And that chain of events led to me finding this town that was full of people from across the political and socioeconomic spectrum, all sorts of ages and everything, who were kind trying their best. And Sonora and I made friends at the dog park immediately. And I made friends with a guy named Randy who gave us a tour of town and drove us back up the big long hill to the haunted hotel. And I ended up staying there for a week. And I ended up giving a speech there at an art festival. I made friends. I helped a dog get adopted from the shelter. And the reason I think I felt wistful was it was the first time. I've always had this longing for home because I've moved around so much. And I've always felt like I never really had a home. And when I was there, I thought, oh my gosh, this could be my home. And I never even knew it existed. And I still keep in touch because I get videos of formerly Gizmo, who is now Everett, the dog. And I keep in touch with the woman who invited me to speak. And there's a wistfulness of how wonderful that community was. And that I could have just stopped there and stayed and been home. And that kind of place exists. And also it gave me this sense that actually I have always been home myself. And that I just didn't know it. And it changed how I am writing and teaching and thinking. So I don't know, there's a wistfulness there.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty deep. I love that.
Where's that in my HippoCampus?
It's all over, but also we're talking about these very deep feelings of identity also. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because your brain processes information about yourself in a very deep and meaningful way. You actually remember information about yourself more than you remember information that's not related to you. And I think you identified so deeply with this area that you were really, really connected to it. And this is such a really warm, heartfelt memory based on the fact that you felt at home there. And that meant that it's a part of your identity as self.
And how do we is that something we choose? Is that something that just happens? Is it something that like our audience, like, do they have control over that? Or is that just the way it is? Is it just something that happens?
It can be both. It can
Yeah.
be both. So for you, you had no intentions of that. You didn't even know. That's probably the last thing you expected, right?
Oh my gosh. I thought it was going to be like one night with my
Yeah.
ghost hunting apps and gone.
Yeah.
Also,
And
hit me up if you want ghost hunting app recommendations.
so, fun fact. So
Yeah.
sometimes it just happens to us.
Mhm.
And those are opportunities that we can just embrace and
Mhm.
that can wrap us and wrap our brains like a warm hug, really.
Mhm.
Other times you can actually make it happen. So when I teach college students and they're studying for exams, believe it or not, I use this as a study technique with them. I tell them, if you want to remember something that's on this study guide, find a way to relate it back to you, anything involving you. You might have to tell yourself a bizarre story, a convoluted long story. You might have to relate it 5 things down the road to what you know. But if you make it related to you, you are more likely to remember it than if you don't. So it can be both. It can just happen to you, or you can actually have a little control and agency over what you relate to yourself too.
Interesting. Oh, that's fascinating. And again, I think about how I would always try to find something that's relatable, like a connective tissue when I'm telling a story, right? So it's so interesting to me how there is brain stuff that, I don't know, we know a little bit underneath, although we do a lot of stupid things as humans. All right. Anyway, I'm sorry. Keep going. This is so interesting to me.
All right. Number 3. Turkey.
Oh, I love turkey. To eat and the country, both.
I love turkey too. I just ate it for Thanksgiving. It was delicious.
Nom, nom, nom,
Nom, nom, nom, nom, nom. And inspired. Think of a time when you may have been inspired in Turkey.
Oh God, I might have to pass. God. Because it's so funny so I want to know what's happening in my brain right now, because when I think about turkey, I don't generally think about inspiration. I generally think, I'll tell you what I think about. I think about 2 things. One, I think about going to this rally for Erdogan where they had this. So this is the leader of Turkey, playbook for authoritarianism. But I'll tell you what he has. He has insanely catchy songs. And so there's honestly, right? So if you go to his rallies, the songs, if you are not somebody who's been like oppressed by him, or you're not like, liberal free press who works there. So for me, I'm like, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, ba 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 ba. And my friend, who is an amazing local journalist who has had all the crap of trying to be a free journalist, is like, can you stop singing that song? Like, for the love of God. And so I don't think of inspiration, right? Like I think of me being a total jackass, right? Like I just think and the same thing, we went to this rally in a place called Çorum, which is how would I describe it without being offensive? It is the heartland. No, that's the wrong. No, because I love it. It is the heartland of his support. It is they're quite uncritical. Let's put it that way. They weren't thrilled to see us. And I've had warmer welcomes. And but I also was working with somebody who was like trying to wind people up. And I was trying to wind people down. And then somebody forgot to film something. So it was like, I only generally think of like rallies and stress when I think about work. If I think about inspiration, I actually would think about my friend. I think about her. Yeah, I guess I'd go quieter. It's not a story, it's a person. It's somebody who has seen their currency devalued, who has gone through human lost a parent, who has seen friends jailed just for freedom of thought, and who has continued to do really important work really bravely and to be funny, and who loves cats. So you'd love that. And if I'm inspired by somebody and who gives, like who will be the first person, I did a fundraiser for somebody, and like, boom, I'm seeing this person donating. And I'm like, what? And like, they're just funny and lovely and human and hardworking no matter what. And I find that really inspiring because it's one of those things I really remember. But like my work there, I think of myself being a jackass. If you want to know the truth, the country itself, if you want me to give like tourist recommendations, it is so beautiful and amazing. I can tell you a million places to go. Anyway, sorry, I wasted a lot of time there. So me, jackass, my friend who wanted me to stop singing the song, truly inspiring in terms of what people can do. And
I love
cats
that.
you can feed.
I love that.
So what's happening in my brain?
Yeah, this is interesting, right? So you eventually got to inspired. You actually eventually got there. Because
what happened though? Why was it hard?
Gonna pass. So this is, listeners, this is actually a very challenging game that I'm asking Melanie to do. And it's very challenging because I'm not just saying, oh, give me a story of Morocco and give me a story of Turkey. And in that case, what happens is you tend to actually give your strongest memory, which is the one that's most well rehearsed. So I'm sure for a lot of these places, Melanie, if someone says, give me a story about, Turkey, it's oftentimes the same story over and over again, which then makes those neural pathways for that story even stronger and even more likely to be told the next time somebody says, hey, give me a story about Turkey. And by attaching a specific thought or feeling or emotion with that, one of the goals is we're actually bypassing that top story. Because the chances that I'm asking you to use an emotion or feeling or thought that matches up with your top story randomly is like pretty slim. It's pretty slim, right? And so essentially you're having to dig beyond that top story and dig a little bit deeper into a memory that's there, but is less well rehearsed and is something that you don't always think about or talk about. And so that's why you did get to inspired, but it took a little bit. It took a little bit, but you got there.
So if our friends, if our audience was played this game basically with each other, would that, and maybe in a different way, would that help them get beneath their own well-rehearsed memories about things and build new neural pathways? Is it like brain exercise?
It's absolutely brain exercise. So friends, you can play this at home. And, we just chose locations and thoughts, feelings, or experiences because Melanie's an expert with locations. And I chose thoughts, feelings, and experiences because I thought that might be an interesting anchor for those experiences. But you could put anything in these two jars. We could do another one that would have worked for Melanie would have been locations and animals. Melanie loves animals, and I bet she has stories about animals. But for example, if I would have asked for cat and Morocco, that would be more different and more challenging for you than camel and Morocco. So you could do this at home with locations. You could do it with activities that you do with friends. Tell me about a time, and you draw out when you went bowling, when you were surprised.
So I love this. I love this. Okay, so just for the record, this might be the What Is She Thinking flashcard game. This might be the start.
We might be having flashcards. That might be our. That might be one of the things we do in the New Year's. Have flashcard game for What Is She Thinking? Because
we actually have a friend who has a supplier. Can we do one more? Can we do one more? I just want to see what happens. I'm really into this.
Oh, we have time. Yes, we can do one more. All right, but this one is going to be rapid fire, and if you have to pass, that's okay. You haven't used any yet. We have Ecuador.
Oh gosh.
And we have surprised. Have you experienced being surprised in Ecuador?
I have. Okay. I arrived in Ecuador just after, a little bit after leaving the BBC. And I was going to make a film in the Galapagos. to help with their some of their conservation efforts. And I landed, and I went to meet up with my friend, and hilariously, the entire center of the Capitol was like blocked off, and there were riot police everywhere. And we ended up taking like smiling selfies and laughing because, and she is of my vintage and job as well, because we were like, oh my gosh, it's us. Like everywhere we go, like we bring the sort of like civil unrest. So we brought civil unrest, and we were so relaxed. Like all the other tourists had obviously gone off and scattered. We were sitting at a cafe, like in the Ring of Steel, and taking selfies with the riot police. So I was surprised though, because I was like, la la la, sea lions, and I'm like, oh no, still got it, civil unrest. There you go.
I love that. That's fantastic. That's hilarious. Don't wear your I Bring Civil Unrest t-shirt next time you're going through airport security. That's maybe a bad idea. But this has been so much fun. I feel like I have a really good idea of, in fact, what you are thinking and how you think. And I could do this all day. We might have to do another episode.
I would love to do part 2, because also I am surprised at what has come into my head. Like,
yeah, because you know, we have a lot in here, and sometimes we don't recognize that we have so much in there. Do you have any takeaways for us today?
Well, I think one of my big takeaways is I think we can often get lost inside our own heads. And I always, always, always encourage you to get somebody else in the driver's seat asking questions, because the truth is, if the answer is in your own head, often you would know it already, right? And you can get steam coming out of your big, beautiful melon, and it won't be there. And if you let somebody, it doesn't even have to be a nifty neuroscientist. If you let somebody ask you questions and spark new ideas, all sorts of new stuff can start coming out. That, I think, is my big takeaway. Also, I did mention animals a lot. What about you, my friend? What about you?
Well, I really enjoyed being able to identify what was happening with some of these stories and share some of those little brain tips and tricks with our listeners. And I hope our listeners go away with the idea that there's more than just the one big story you tell. There's a lot of really interesting, fascinating, rarer gems in there. And if you just go mining in your brain a little bit, you're going to come up with those. And my friend, I adore your big, beautiful melon. And I look forward to us doing another episode of particularly What is Melanie Thinking and HippoCampus Fest Part 2.
HippoCampus Fest!
Campus Fest!
Oh, listen, I'll tell you what, I'm starting to get the whole hippocampus appeal. Look how many times I've said it today. Thank you so much for being with us. Next week, we are getting cozy. So we invite you to get cozy for a little tender, loving care. If you have questions about your hippocampus, if you have questions about any travel recommendations or what to do if you see riot police, no matter what it is, Heather and I are here for you in the comments. It's true, right? You know, you get a little of both with the two of us. And we are here for you and appreciate so much. And Dr. Heather, you are the best.
You are the best.
I know. Well, I'm feeling the love, and I'm feeling the love for all of you. I hope you play this game at home. It's actually delighted me. I was nervous, and it's actually delighted me. And I not because I'm like, oh, look at me, but just it's fun. So thank you so much. Play this game at home. Let us know your thoughts and questions. And bye.